I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Rebecca.
How did you start working at the Salvation Army?
It was actually a really long and winding road that got me here. I started off my career as a clinical social worker. I was working as a therapist with the severely and persistently mentally ill. And I worked at this community clinic that was severely underfunded. As the situation was really, really bad there. And one day I got invited as a +1 to a gala. It was so fancy. It was at the Met.
I want to go. How do I get invited?
I highly recommend you try to get a ticket. And it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I got a big fancy gown. I changed in right after leaving the clinic. And went, and there was a red carpet, and there was a fancy dinner. And then during dessert, they started this like live programmatic auction where you weren't actually like raising your money to buy anything. Mm-hmm. You were just raising your money to donate. And that night, they were trying to buy a new statue for the museums. They were asking everyone to donate money towards that. And people were just raising their hands and they're like, $1 million.
Wow.
And I sat there stunned. Like, what is this? I had just a few hours before been at this clinic that needed so much money so that we could help our patients. Mm-hmm. And here money was just literally flying out of people's fingertips. And
just for a statue.
For a statue, which is really important.
Yeah, it's super important and beautiful,
But I knew that I needed to be able to get that money to help my patients. And I, that night, decided that I was going to do whatever it took to be able to connect those donors with that money to the services that I thought were really critical. So I started applying for jobs right away. I applied everywhere for fundraising jobs, and I had no idea what a fundraiser actually did. So I'm sure my applications were awful, and I did not get a job. No one wanted to hire me.
I can't imagine why. Their loss.
So I came up with a new plan. I applied to go back to graduate school. I got a second master's degree.
Wow.
But this time in nonprofit management with an emphasis in fundraising. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that has to be my way in. I was so determined to get my in to be able to do this. And it was. I started school. I got a job as an executive assistant to like the head fundraiser at another nonprofit. And I worked there full-time during the day while I went to school at nights until I graduated. And then upon graduation, I took a job in consulting for nonprofits. Mm-hmm. And I did that for 4 years with the Salvation Army being my very last client.
What did you do for the Salvation Army as a consultant when they brought you in here?
So I came in as interim leadership of the fundraising and the marketing teams. So it was July 2020. Everything was really weird. My predecessor had just retired. And so I came in to kind of like rebuild everything and get the team back on track in this strange new world where we were all remote. Our donors were remote. We couldn't bring them in for tours of our centers. We couldn't have meetings the way we were used to. And so really kind of taking everything and switching it over to the new way of working. So I did that for 6 months was the length of my first contract. And at the end of that 6 months, they offered me to stay.
Wow. So what made you decide to accept and to stay with the Salvation Army?
I loved working at the Salvation Army.
How could you not?
I love my team. The people here are so nice. My team was amazing. It was just really such like a pleasure to come to work every day. The work-life balance, amazing. And I loved leading my team towards like greater success. Honestly, it was just so nice to work here. It was kind of hard to decide to leave consulting.
Yeah, it's a big decision.
It was. I also had loved consulting. I had so many mentors. I had grown so much and learned working with over a dozen organizations. But in the end, I couldn't imagine leaving the Salvation Army.
What do you do in your role as Director of Philanthropy? Explain what that is to people who don't know.
It is a lot of emails.
I've seen your inbox. It's a scary place.
It is. It scares me. A lot of meetings. I spend most of my day in meetings.
Right.
I have a team of 15. So there's a lot of people who I'm constantly working with, making sure that everything is moving smoothly as it should. More than half of the team is in fundraising, specifically like donor outreach. So we work with philanthropists and ordinary people who want to make a difference in the world, who want to contribute to our work. So we do major gifts. We do estate planning with donors who want to leave a gift in their will. We do a lot of grants. We write lots and lots of grants to foundations. We work with corporations who want to give back. And then, of course, there is the marketing side, which is fun. We get to do social media. We get to do digital advertising. And then, of course, there's the capturing people's stories through videography and telling that through our blogs and different web design and such. So it really is a lot. It's pretty varied.
Yeah, so much goes into our team. I feel like people don't even know the half of it.
It's always something different.
When you started out at the Salvation Army in consulting, did you know a ton about marketing and the PR side that we do?
I had taken marketing classes. That was part of that master's in management program, but I hadn't had direct experience in marketing. It was a lot to learn. I had never written a pitch for the media before, and I feel like that's something that we do so much of now.
Yeah.
is pitching the media on our stories and really getting our mission out there. But it was a learning curve that I learned. And it's really become one of my favorite parts. I love working in the marketing side of things.
You do so much for the team, so what is your favorite part of the role that you do?
You mean besides making TikToks?
Right. How'd I know that was going to be your answer?
I think it gets a bad rep, but my favorite part is really management. I love working with people to help them find projects that are meaningful for them and help them feel like they're doing something that's progressing their career and is fulfilling. And it's really a unique role that I'm in. So I think management's my favorite part.
Your journey to fundraising seems a bit non-traditional. Do you have any advice you can give to someone watching this who wants to get into fundraising?
I actually don't think there is a traditional way. My journey was just another one. No one really grows up being like, I want to be a fundraiser. So I think if you just find that area, something you're passionate about, you just have to get involved. Start now getting involved. I loved social services, and that's why I got involved with the Salvation Army. I love what we do. So if you love animals, get involved in your local rescue. Get involved with your shelter. There's so many different causes out there. So just pick the one that you care the most about and start volunteering.
What is it about the Salvation Army that resonated with you?
So when I started this journey to become a fundraiser, it was because I wanted to raise money for social services. And at the Salvation Army, every dollar I raise is a meal for someone. It's, after school programs for kids. It's shelter for families. The mission resonated so well with who I am and my desire to help the social services. I think now I'm able to do that in everything that I did when I was in direct practice, but it's such a greater scale at this macro level of fundraising.
So you have such amazing experience with consulting with the Salvation Army. Do you have any favorite memories from the past few years?
One thing comes to mind, and it's because it is the most absurd thing you've ever heard. When I first joined, as I said, in 2020, we weren't able to go out on the streets and to meet with donors, which meant we weren't able to go put our kettles on the sidewalk.
The classic red kettle.
Right? That's so important to the Salvation Army. It's really iconic to our brand. But that Christmas, there was all of these rules in place that, you had to social distance. So we couldn't be on the same sidewalk standing there. So we couldn't have kettles.
So sad.
And my boss here at the Salvation Army said, Rebecca, you need to find a way to to still bring our message home, our message that New Yorkers need you. Like, these services are still very much needed, even more than ever. And so he tasked me with building a giant red kettle. And we did.
Fundraiser, construction worker. You wear so many different hats.
We got a company that was able to build the giant kettle. They were able to help us get permits, and we constructed a 32-foot tall giant red kettle and put it in the middle of Times Square.
Wow.
We did that on Giving Tuesday. The media showed up. There was, I can't remember, like around a dozen stations that were there. We got hits from Good Morning America, from CBS This Morning. All the the national shows that are there in Times Square all came out to see it, to see our band, our very small, socially distanced band play, and really brought a little bit of like holiday joy to New Yorkers in one of our strangest holiday seasons.
It would have been perfect for TikTok.
Too bad I hadn't started it yet.
It's so sad. Thank you for sharing your experience, and it's just awesome to get to hear everything that you've